Neither Better Trades or any of its personnel are registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. I will mention that I consider certain securities or positions to be good candidates for the types of strategies we are discussing or illustrating. Because I consider the securities or positions appropriate to the discussion or for illustration purposes does not mean that I'm telling you to trade the strategies or securities. Keep in mind that we are not providing you with recommendations or personalized advice about your trading activities. The information we are providing is not tailored to any particular individual. Any mention of a particular security is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that or any other security or a suggestion that it is suitable for any specific person. Keep in mind that all trading involves a risk of loss, and this will always be the situation regardless of whether we are discussing strategies that are intended to limit risk. Also, Better Trades personnel are not subject to trading restrictions. I and others at Better Trades could have a position in a security or initiate a position in a security at any time.
Good afternoon. Welcome out to another Insights. Today what we'll do is go over, just review the market real quickly. Big update today, not a huge surprise. It could have gone either way. It could have been just a sideways, kind of a small spinning top doji day or an up day. I wasn't expecting another down day, even though that could have happened, right? It was 50-50 before the start, so now we know pretty solid day to the upside. So we'll just briefly go over the market, and then we'll go through the little guys, and then we'll see what happened with the big guys, if anything popped and hit. But first, like we usually do, start off with something. I like this quote, and it just hit me in a specific way today, but go after your dreams with passion and purpose, even if you don't know how you'll achieve them. The answer will show up along the way. There's that old saying that says, come up with the what, and the how will show up. And it's amazing how often that happens in life. You decide that you want something, you're going to go after something, you create a goal, and you don't have any idea really how you're going to get there, but you kind of figure it out along the way. So don't be afraid to jump out and just go for it. You know, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I mean, most of us are, right, we're all looking to achieve that dream of getting to where we want to be with respect to trading, whether that's financial or getting to a place where you can just make enough to get by, or you just get to a place where you're calm and cool and collected. You know, that should be the first goal, is to get to a place where you could trade calm, cool, and collected, and then you are growing your account steadily. You don't have to be making a living at it, but if you get to a point where you know you're relaxed and calm and you know you can trade with a cool head, and you start to see consistent results, albeit even if you're working with a smaller account, it might be a little, you might only make a couple $100 a month. But if you're making it consistently month in and month out, and maybe you have a bad month here or there, or something goes haywire and something doesn't work out perfectly, but as long as there's consistency and it's working out and you're doing things and you're growing and improving day in and day out, then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And really that's what a lot of it is just having the hope to know that one day it's going to happen. And know that it will. It's not a question of will you get there, it's when will you get there. And the only way, I've said this many times with respect to trading, the only way you ever fail, in my opinion, in this business is to quit. Because trading is tough. It's not an easy business. It's not easy to master. I don't know that we ever master it, actually. But you can get to a place where the vast majority of the time you are in a calm, cool, collected mindset and you trade well. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. You'll get there. Just keep going. Just go after it. The answers show up. They always do. You always find a way to figure it out. So with that, let's move on and take a peek at the market. And as you can see, S&P was up 30 points. Not a huge amount of volume, just average volume, so nothing spectacular. We had a shaved head, so fairly bullish day, relatively speaking. Then again, we had some bearish momentum to the downside last week. So, in fact, interestingly enough, let's take a look at this on a weekly and see what the weekly looks like. I haven't done this. I don't do this very often either. Looking at it from a weekly perspective, probably should do it a little more. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I've done this. But when we look at it from a weekly perspective, big giant hammer right after that huge down week. Well, part of that was, in over a 2 week period, we dropped 2100 down to 1867. But the volume roaring back to make that hammer type of pattern, but the week after that it dropped off again, so we had no confirmation on a reversal pattern. Then we got another one right there. Let's see, the 1st of October. And yeah, that was the week of the TSS. That's when it bottomed out and things took off and rallied for 6 weeks basically. We had 6 up weeks. And then the last week was down. Notice this big Maribozu. No shadow on the top, very tiny little wick at the bottom. Not a huge amount of volume. So interesting. Interesting to see it on a weekly perspective because the volume roaring back up, not last week, but 6 out of the last 7 weeks, was pretty decent actually, surprisingly. A little tiny bit above average, and it actually has made that moving average line turn up just a tad bit. So, haven't seen it like that. So this might be a little more bullish than I thought. Looking at this daily, I mean, a lot of this volume came in that week right there, the first week, but on a daily basis, it doesn't look that bullish. Gives it a little tiny bit more bullishness when looking at it on a weekly basis. So, but I mean, an update today, like I say, no surprise. We dropped off from 2150 or so, 2110. We dropped to almost 100 points in a week and a half or so. So a rally would be expected, especially if people were looking at this market and say, oh, it's time to come back in. Had a nice little healthy pullback. Now we're going to keep running. So who knows? Let's see what the other markets look like. I'm sure the NASDAQ and the Dow are about the same. Yep, the NASDAQ filled that gap, so it bounced. No surprise. Dow Industrials. In fact, let's get rid of that. It's starting to irritate me. Transports. These will be interesting ones. See what it did. Transports in the Russell. Transports bounced to the 8,000 level. Shocker. Not only is it a huge round number, it's acted as support a lot lately. But definitely not bullish like the other markets. In fact, we have a little miniature head and shoulders there on the transports. I just noticed. And the Russell, same thing, basically still just essentially sideways. So those two markets are still iffy. And I will be a little bit paranoid here and keep checking the recording to make sure it's going. VIX had a big drop today. No surprise. So, hard to say what's going to happen, but let's move on and look at the little guys for the next week or so. And the first one starts off, I mean, I got to be honest, when I first looked at this, I went, it's a little bit frustrating. Be just like, wish I'd have seen it Friday. But then again, how do you know it's going to do what it did today? You don't. Big volume. We got basically a morning star at a support level. Would have had to catch it probably first thing this morning, I'm guessing, within the first hour. Based on this chart, typically that type of run that's when it happens. So probably wouldn't have caught it anyway, is what I'm thinking. Just based on my almost 16 years of experience and seeing charts like this and getting frustrated and angry because I didn't catch it. And then you go back and look at the intraday chart and you see things. You go, I never would have made that decision anyway. So wasn't far enough in front of it. So. But we'll see. I mean, this might pull back a little bit, might have a nice little drawdown tomorrow, but the pattern itself actually today gave us an even better pattern than we could have had on Friday. In fact, Friday all we had was a spinning top at a support level, a potential double bottom. Not only do we have a double bottom now, but we have a morning star as well. So this might develop into something better that gives us a better bullish look. So we'll keep an eye on it and see. ATML. Similar, we had a nice little push this last week. Today it's just kind of danced around. It was up a penny. I mean, nothing to write home about. Volume was extremely light, so not terribly exciting. This one's not, at this moment at least. Who knows what it will bring. But Chesapeake Energy, make sure I hit the right button here. Looking at a bearish move, it's broken below that support level there, about 680. Had dropped off a decent amount with some decent volume. And was looking for it to bounce back up a little bit, and it gave us that today. In fact, considering we have, was it $1.30 of potential? $1.70 of potential? whatever it is. We're within 10 cents of the entry point, so it's close enough to justify it. We'll just have to see what the action looks like tomorrow and what it will bring us. So, in fact, who was it this week? Was it Walmart that's coming out Thursday? There's a couple of big name companies coming out later this week. I think it was Walmart that was Wednesday or Thursday. That was the big one. I mean, well, now they're the second biggest retailer on the planet. So Amazon has overtaken them. CSTM, Constellium, and I'm not really sure what these guys are. I'm going to guess that they're oil, but I don't know. Constellium, EV. Nice rising through methods, and looking for it to break to the upside. If it breaks out of that 875 resistance level, pretty decent likelihood it's going to go up to at least 10, if not 1150. 1150 is the next major level. There's a little bit you can see right here, an old support level about $10. Not only that, is that a solid round number though too. So in fact, see, there's not. That's the only spot there. This is not a real old company, at least from a public perspective. So the next major point is 1150. So this has some potential, especially with the momentum that's come in, the volume that's come in the last couple of weeks. This very well could take off and run very quickly as it's done. I mean, it was not even $4 before it took off, and now it's $8. So it's doubled in just a couple weeks. So this has got some potential. This might be a drug company. I don't know. I have to go look it up to see for sure. Honestly, I really don't care. As crazy as that might sound to some people. If the chart shows it and it shows momentum, jump on it. It's my opinion. CSX, and not sure. I got duplicates here. Not sure why. Probably got squeezed out somehow. Bands are pinching. Love the looks of this, which is no surprise. You can see the sideways action, the pinch, the triangle that's forming. Looking for actually a bearish move to the downside. It didn't do that today, but we did to a certain degree get a little bit of confirmation because you see we had an up day, but look at the volume. That is actually a bearish sign. Tomorrow could change that. We don't know. But we will see. Looking for this to break below out of the triangle pattern and continue to the downside. We'll see if that brings it. CenturyLink, rollover from last week. Was looking for it to break down today or this week sometime, and it didn't today. It actually went up a pretty decent amount, but another one with a light volume. Yeah, it was a bullish day, but the volume was not very solid. EPD, another one you're like, I missed it. It gapped up to the open anyway, so, and then light volume again. Big volume on Friday. Good, solid hammer type of pattern. Not textbook, not beautiful because the body's a little too big, but at the same time, the overall concept is there, and we had follow through today. Who knows what it will do? This thing could just tank tomorrow, but it could take out a run. So if you caught, well, you wouldn't have caught this unless you saw it on your own. But my mind's just like. Moving on to Exelis. Looking for a breakdown here. This has been going sideways. You see that big gap. Let's see. What do we have longer term? See if there's something I'm missing here. No, basically just looking for a break of that support level, 538. So it's a biotech company, which does create a little bit of nerves. That gap is probably because they had something in a trial phase that got approved to go to the next stage. Usually it's going to the final phase of testing, but who knows? That's why I'm always cautious with these, the biotechs. That's why with the, what was it, CSTM? Yeah, Constellium. If that's a biotech, a pharma, that's the only thing I'd want to know. If it is, then I'd be a little more cautious with it, just because the potential for these things with news to come out can be big. I mean, you obviously, when this thing's down to $4, you don't want to be in puts when it gaps up to 6. So I'm a little more cautious with these. I will usually scale back and take less risk. I'll do a smaller position because of that. Depends on it. If it's a small company like this that I've never heard of or I don't know much about, if it's a Pfizer or something like that, I mean, it's a big company. So, they have one drug that goes haywire. It doesn't really affect them much. So, General Motors started to trail off last week and looking for it wanted it to pop up a little bit actually, but as long as it stayed below that 38.50 area, even 35 would have been sufficient, but it went right up through it. So, did not present a trade yet. We'll see what happens the rest of the week. JD.com, this is one I think they came out with earnings today. Or maybe they're coming out tomorrow. I don't know. There should be an earnings bell. I thought we saw this on the list. Or was it last week? I'm getting confused. I don't know. Basically, kind of got a bullish engulfing pattern today. Big volume. Even after a breakdown on Friday with big volume, today we completely reversed that. So this is, even the trading plan I have in place, I think this one's going to be just nixed. It's kind of like, yeah, we needed to pull back down. So we'll see. Kroger. How come this didn't come up on the earnings radar? 12.3. I guess that's 2.5, 3 weeks out. Broke down on Friday. Looking for it to continue to the downside. It rallied up today a little bit. Pretty solid volume. So we need this one to turn back over and head back south in order to present an opportunity. Seadrill. Looking for a bullish move. Have a bullish engulfing pattern with big volume at a support level. Everything about this screams bullish. And then today we get, of course, the spinning top doji type of pattern. So we will see earnings the 24th. Is that another one that slipped by somehow? That's a week from tomorrow. Either that or I was just thinking that this might pop real quick. It's done it before. I mean, it popped from here in 3 or 4 days. So it's entirely possible in 6 to 8. It's $2. That's a 25-30% move. So this is one of the reasons I love little guys. I mean, if we go 628 to 60, that's what, $1.40? Is that right? $1.35, $1.40? That's a 20%, 22% move. So very well could make some decent chunk of change on that. And last on the little guys, USB was looking for a break to the downside. Didn't happen today with today's candle. So few opportunities left there still. Go through the big guys real quick and see if anything popped or materialized. And this is going to be very brief. I'm just going to go through. Nothing moving. Most of these were bearish plays, looking for something bearish. There's one. AMSG actually gapped up a little bit, triggered the entry. Volume's light though, so a little nervous on the downside, just like some of the bullish ones with bullish moves, big candlesticks to the upside, but light volume. So who knows? But we'll see what this one brings tomorrow. Might give us another opportunity. Who knows? So APC looking for it to drop. Did not. Blue. I love this one. I just want to see. I don't want to say the perfect setup, but I do. We all want the perfect setup, right? And right now, that's what this has given us. It's just a question of, can we catch the move to the downside if it does that? Because this thing can move quick and it can move far. So it's going to be one of those things that's a little bit challenging unless you just jump on it in faith. It's okay, I'm willing to take a shot at it. If this thing pops back up and you can see the risk, I mean, you got almost $7 of risk, $72.44 to $79.30. That's almost $7. So that's a tremendous, tremendous chunk of risk. And I don't think I think I remember looking at the options and there wasn't a ton of liquidity. So, or maybe there was. I'm trying to remember. I just don't have time to go into it right now. But it's one that very well could present a huge opportunity. So we'll just keep an eye on it, see what happens tomorrow. If it gets some good action tomorrow, a nice little doji, or if it gaps up and then starts to sell off, that would be what I would consider to be ideal. Citigroup, not going the way we wanted to. CME, it kind of is going the way we wanted it to. It's actually up a little bit, so we would need it to pop back to the upside to generate an entry point. So this is probably later in the week, if at all. We'll see. Delphi doing exactly what we want. Popped up, light volume, still below that resistance level. So if it starts to sell off tomorrow, that one I could get, I don't know if I'd say I could get excited about it because we're not supposed to get excited, right? We're supposed to stay neutral. Digital Realty, another one doing exactly what we wanted to do. This is in perfect position. And see what happens tomorrow. If we get a nice little sideways move tomorrow, what I'd love to see on these is a small gap up and then a little trail sideways, and then it sells off a little bit, and then it kind of stabilizes, and then you can pick up an option when it's just sitting there going sideways, and then it trails off at the end of the day. That's ideal. That would be perfect. That's what I would love to see. And sometimes you catch them like that, and other times just so. I get kind of excited thinking about doing that type of move, but it's got to actually do that, and we don't have any control over that. So Illumina popped up. Actually, it did pull back a little bit today. Didn't quite generate an entry. Got real close, but another one that I look at and say, you know what, it probably would have caught that. I mean, it would have been tough to catch that. You would have had to catch the intraday bottom, essentially. Intuit popped up a little bit. Needed it to pop up more in order to generate an entry point. But, again, I think this is one of those that somehow slipped through with earnings on the 19th. So wait for earnings on that one. OMC needed it to pop up a little bit, and it actually popped up a lot. But that could be okay because we're still sitting below that resistance level of 73.05. If it goes blasting through it tomorrow, good. It gets it off the radar. Then we know it's not going to play out this week, and the pattern is pretty much toasted. We get a nice little spinning top or doji tomorrow at the close, kind of like we did last Thursday. Now we might have something. Now we might have an opportunity. So we'll see what tomorrow looks like, what tomorrow brings. Polaris, beautiful. Nice little gap down this morning, trailed off, and then it did rally up towards the close, still down $1.42. So, but we have a little bit of a hammer type of pattern with some pretty solid volume. So we'll see what that brings tomorrow and what tomorrow's behavior looks like. Raytheon doing the exact opposite of what we were looking for. This is one you look at and say, man, we should have planned for a bullish trade. Well, if all the signs are on one side, you got to pick one side or the other. I know sometimes people, I have friends that do this sometimes. They'll set up both sides. And to me, it's just too much. I've tried it. I did it just probably 4 or 5 months ago in here in the insides. I said, well, if it does this, then go this way. If it goes this way, then go that way. It's, for me at least, it's a little overwhelming. Maybe that's because I have focus issues. It's too much to try to pick both sides. I say, well, if it does this, then go that way. And if it does this, if you're the type of person that can handle that, have at it. Go for it. I admire you if you can do that. I'm just, we got basically about 30 candidates this week and try to keep an eye on all of them and alerts going off on some and then having to make decisions and then the pressure and stress of having to deal with any positions that might be there. And I mean, it's too much to try to figure out, okay, it's doing this and doing that. And it's overwhelming for most people. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But this looks good. Looks like a good bullish candidate and might flip it over and see what it does tomorrow. If it drops off and then, there is a little upper range there about 120. So it might pull back to that and give it a nice little kiss goodbye. If it does that in the next few days or the rest of the week, then that might flip over and turn into a bullish candidate. Travelers, done exactly what we wanted it to. It's popped back up a little bit. So maybe tomorrow it will give us an entry point. We'll see. And Wynn Resorts, last but not least, almost perfect. Gaps down a little bit. It did close up $1.29, not a huge amount, but it's still below that resistance level there at 64. Light volume. So I love the looks of this right now. This one is behaving exactly the way I like to see it. And I love the looks of Wynn. I mean, we got $11, 10 and a half, $11 of potential or so here on a $60 stock. That's huge. So I love the looks of Wynn. There's a few here that I really like. Bluebird, Wynn. What was the other one? I don't remember exactly, but they look good. It's just a question of catching it at the right time. And that is the other tricky part. First, you got to find an opportunity. Then you actually have to catch it. So, such is trading. That's the business we live in. So, hope you've all had a great day and hope you have a great rest of the week. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye for now.